And we are back. This is the Cheech and Manny Show, the People's Podcast. We are the only podcast that you should be listening to for all things music. We are now going to move on. Actually, it's funny, I'm still on topographic ocean, so I'm kind of, help me, Cheech. I'm kind of lost in here. But that being said, I'm in the middle of a 20-minute song. That being said, we are gonna now move on to the legendary genre known at three chords and the truth punk, right? And
Yes.
I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, the People's Bassist and Temple elite worker, Cheech Guerrero. Cheech, what's good?
What's going on? How's everything, Manny? Good to see
Uh,
you, man.
dude, life is good, brother. We just had a great free talk, so
We just did a free talk. We've been doing our free talk episodes. They're a lot of fun, you
if
know.
people no, if people want a taste of what it would be like to work with us at the temple and pretend like that's you can get a
That's our
taste of
yeah,
that.
that's our free talk. Yeah. Um, this episode, I came up with the idea of doing the Encyclopedia of Punk, the complete opposite of what's behind you. Um,
Again, I'm lost in topographic ocean, so I apologize to everyone. I'm in the middle of the 20-minute song right now, but
yeah,
it's fascinating. We're leaving the Bible and now going to an encyclopedia.
we're going into Encyclopedia of Punk Rock. This is something that I've been writing for about a year, and I just been adding more
Well,
and more to
well,
it.
quickly, tell the story. When were we supposed to do the punk episode? What happened?
Oh man, it was early on in the episodes. It was like right when we started to do Rush. Um, God, it was maybe after we did Deano. I had written it, but it was lame. I was compared to like how good we got at our shows, and I was like, I gotta keep tweaking this and tweaking this. And then, all these things started happening. Like Geese showed up, and I started to think about this could be the modern punk. I started to just, go back and listen to the Pistols, the Ramones, television, and I said, we gotta do the opposite of Prague,
Yeah.
you know. And then we just did Punk Kill Prague, and that's where I really got the idea to make the episode a encyclopedia. So this is going to be more of like facts about these punk bands.
And
Um,
analyzation, yeah.
yeah, we're going to analyze them. We're going to talk about prehistoric punk.
And coming soon, we are gonna have that episode where I think like we kind of agreed where a lot of people like to say that punk killed Prague. I
Yeah,
would say no, it didn't. But it did it along with disco, it was a contributing factor. But at
yeah,
the end of the day, Prague kind of killed itself.
yeah. It was
Which makes sense.
suicide.
Which makes sense. But
Yeah,
yeah, dude, I'm excited for this. We've been talking about this for years. It's part of our genre series as well that started with
yeah.
new wave of British heavy metal.
I
Uh,
think one of the first songs we ever talked about when we met was "Bodies" by the Pistols.
I think so. It's
I
when
remember that
we had that
conversation.
joint we have that joint mutual love of that song and Sid Vicious and
Oh
Sex
yeah,
Pistols. And if you on the audience are saying what the heck are these guys talking about, stay tuned because we're gonna never mind the bollocks. Stay
exactly.
with us because
And I could say for me, I was blessed to play in a punk band and in a prog band, a real punk band and a
let me
real
ask you, what was your
yeah.
experience playing in a punk band?
Okay. At first, I just took the gig because I was kind of like, I want to play. I'm young, I never really played punk, but it was more ska, Clash, and then some heavy, and then like some pistol kind of stuff. And then I seen the gigs we were getting, and the guys were all cool. And we got some big shows in the city, the Mercury Lounge. The band was called Axe in the Wheel. Uh, and we played at the Mercury Lounge, and Ron Delsner had thrown, they knew Ron Delsner, so he was helping us get in these bigger places, and
Hmm.
it was fun. It was fun. I felt out of place being like a long-haired guy, but then I took cues from bands at the time like Rancid. that were you ever get into Rancid?
I've heard of them, man. They're great. Well,
Oh my
post-punk,
God.
right? Post-punk?
Yeah, post-punk with a bass player like
Another one, the Misfits.
no, this is way after this is in the 90s. This is
Oh, wow. Okay, okay.
Rancid
No,
came
I'm
out in
saying, but no, but I'm saying like the Misfits, like
yeah.
back. I'm talking about post-punk bands. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Rancid was more like the Pistols with a bass player that played like Steve Harris. So I
Right.
was like, I loved
Did
them.
they do some ska songs too?
They did. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
did.
like their ska songs. Like
Yeah.
for our fans out there, and you know how much of a ska fan I am. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah. So I took some of those ideas and they were cool with it. So I went with the whole like I'm gonna go with this Rancid busy bass line. I was into a band called the Descendants at the time who had a great fucking bass player. Another melodic punk band. So I played with them for about a year and a half, and we played a lot of gigs. We played the Pyramid Club where Nirvana played. We played the Mercury Lounge. You know, we played some big shows in front of a lot of people. And it was a great experience. And then the opposite, I played in a band called Cerberus
which
that
you
was
talked about, right?
which was prog rock, and we played CBGBs. And
That's
like
no, and it's crazy because you have that in your resume. You played at this, and it's just it's ironic because you're playing rock rock at the
I
place
played
that
yeah, like CBGBs didn't care in the 90s. Anybody could play there, you know. So we got a gig there. It was good. It was a good band. Cerberus, too proggy for me, but I was young and I wanted to play everything. You know, I
of
played in
course.
Latin bands, I played in reggae bands. Um, and then the coolest thing about CBGBs was they have a little back room and it's a little backstage. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like, what the fuck? It's a box. But I would look, and this is before cell phones and reels and all this shit. Carved in the wall was like Sid Vicious was here. And I was like shitting a solid brick going, wait a second. I'm in the same spot that Sid Vicious was because he lived in Manhattan at this time. He played CBGBs a lot solo.
Hmm.
I don't know if the Pistols ever played CBGBs. They probably
That's a
did.
great question.
Probably did. But I know Sid did. And I'm going, this is where Sid Vicious was.
Hmm.
And people might laugh and say, dude, you like Sid Vicious? You're talking about Geddy Lee and Chris Squire. And I'm like, yeah, I love Sid Vicious. And I love the fact that Sid Vicious was raw, did not give a fuck what you thought about him. He just played his bass when it was unplugged. He was strung out and he didn't give a fuck. And that's what I loved about Sid Vicious. And there's always a part of Sid Vicious in my playing where I just don't give a fuck. You know,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna go out and be Steve Harris, try to be Steve Harris and Getty and Geezer, but there's also in Jocko and there's Sid in there who's saying, "Don't give a fuck, just play," and that's the attitude that he had. So those are my prog and punk stories.
No, that's wonderful. And that summarizes the attitude punk is gonna take
Yeah.
much later. But I guess so what do you want to take? How do you want to start this
Well,
encyclopedia series?
yeah, I'm gonna start it off with what punk rock is defined as.
Actually, and before you begin, returning to our classic stint, any shout outs, man? Like
Um,
we haven't done that in a long time.
always a shout out to Potter's Field, greatest band in the galaxy. Who we have I sent you our punk song, Just a Dream, which is like our punk pop song that we're gonna be
Dude, I'm
playing.
all about fat chicks, man.
Fat Chicks is that should be number one on
Dude,
forget Bruce
dude,
Springsteen and
knock
this.
that Bruce Springsteen song on. It's all
That
about
shit
fat.
should be number one on Spotify. It really should.
Yo,
It's
we you guys, if you guys ever record that, that should be number one, first of all. But
yeah.
dude, like that video should be on MTV.
I mean, talk about a band with so many like great catchy anthem type of songs. Fat Chicks, Rock and Roll
Yeah.
Dinosaur. I mean,
Laboratory Love, which is my favorite.
Laboratory Love, I Asked My Baby. Bobby knows how to write amazing lyrics.
Yeah.
Bobby,
He knows how to do an
Bobby,
anthem, rock and roll anthems.
Bobby's my favorite singer that I've ever played with, and my favorite lyricist. His lyrics they're amazing. There's a definitely a
You
punkiness to
guys
him.
definitely have a punk element.
Yeah,
That would be
I-
hard to ignore.
There's been times we've been compared to bands like the Dolls. and stuff like
I can see
that.
that.
You
I could,
know,
yeah, yeah, you guys would be like, yeah, kind of like the Dolls, kind of like Mott the Hoople a little bit there,
yeah,
like
yeah. Then
glam,
there's
yeah.
songs like Some People Should Die Slowly, which is like a metal
Wait, is that
song.
the one? Didn't,
Yeah,
didn't,
yeah, exactly. You know,
didn't. Dude, I love that song.
that's a heavy
And think
metal
about it,
song.
that should be we should have, there should be a compilation called Temple Anthems. That's got to be in there.
Oh yeah, oh definitely that one. And I always think about a certain person when I play that.
Dude,
Um,
no, and the Fat Chick song, dude, I love. I saw and I love. I don't know why I love that song. It's like more bluesy, I think, and I
yeah, it's
love
got a
how
nice groove. It's got
I
a
love how
groove to it.
Robbie has that night. He begins it live. You guys kick it like you guys
Yeah,
like he does that drum so.
yeah, he does a jazzy drum solo.
And then slowly, I love how Bobby introduces like everything like you room dun 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 dun, dun, and then you
Yeah,
hear the guitar like the distortion
yeah,
come in
yeah, Vincenzo kicks ass on that.
and the lyrics sexy sexy models like dude, I love it,
Yeah,
man.
it's
So punk. Hey dude, it kind of sounds like it would belong on Nevermind the Bollocks. That's how great you guys are.
it does. Thank you. And then we have flashing red lights in the rearview mirror, and that's a
Great.
new Robin
I
song.
love that you guys go in the zone and just like
Yeah,
have
so
that
we're
nice.
we're a lot like geese in a way.
Pottersfield BX, honestly, I mean, Grease is great too. Dude, get that Springsteen song up.
Yeah, yeah,
Put
yeah.
Patrick's
Fat Chick
number
should
one.
be in there. More people should know about. Honestly, more people should know about Pottersfield BX. But always a shout out and thank you for the kind words, Manny. Um, and I'm trying to think. Shout out to Jose at the Temple because we've been having some great
Oh,
music. He's been helping me with punk ideas too. He's
that's
thrown a lot
that's
of great.
great. Yeah, I had no idea. You said, Jose, if you're watching this, man, much love.
Yeah,
Shout out to you, brother. You said that
yeah,
he was in a punk band, right? Which is
he
fascinating.
was in a punk band too. I got to say, being in a punk band, it's a mindset too. I had to get in a different mindset when I was
Attitude
playing
and
it. Yeah,
style and yeah.
and a lot of people were like shaking their heads, like, dude, you can't be in a punk band. I got caught. I didn't tell a lot of people I was. It was kind of like my side piece. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right.
a couple guys caught me, and they're like, wow, I never thought I'd see you in a punk band, but you guys kick ass. You guys are really fucking good. I'm like, yeah, it was fun. So it's in my resume, punk, prog,
Yeah,
I
you did
did
everything. I
it.
love it. And you
It
got the
all,
best of both worlds, and it's great because
yeah,
you can tell where, the prog versus punk, and
yeah.
technically punk being the next wave, right? So, prog had its moment, but then now,
I will say I enjoyed the punk band way more than the prog band.
well, yeah, it's fascinating, right? And again, it goes back to that idea of three chords and the truth that, well, I guess we'll get there, like to
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
why that is. But yeah, so okay, so in terms of we're going prehistoric, it sounds like.
Well, I'm gonna just give you a definition, then we're gonna go prehistoric.
Hmm.
Okay, and you tell me how you feel about this. Punk rock is stripped down, one guitar, bass, drums, singer, aggressive vocals, political, anger, nihilism, fast tempo, very short songs, do it yourself attitudes. Bands came from urban areas like New York, London, LA. It defines teenage angst like the rock of the 1960s did.
I think that's
That's
per
that's my definition.
as a punk definition, I think that's perfect. I mean, yeah, especially anger, a lot of angry songs and fast. Like,
Yeah.
famously by the Ramones, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they just rip.
No,
There,
no, no, no.
there's no like 10 minute like intro or whatever or um it's fast to the point. A punk aesthetic.
Definitely. So yeah, that's just my own definition in the encyclopedia of punk. Now to get into prehistoric punk, um, it it's the attitude. It's a version of old rock and roll rebels like Little Richard, Jerry Lee
Yeah.
Lewis, um, the Sonics, the Ventures, the Kinks, the Who, David Bowie, Iggy
Hmm.
and the Stooges, Iggy Pop, as far
Now,
as far as I'm concerned,
now,
was you know,
now,
you know,
before we go Iggy Pop, and yeah, and Stooges, which
yeah.
I think, oh, by the way, talk about Godfather punk. But before we go there, just pause
I
on like,
forgot. I forgot Chuck Berry too. Chuck Berry
well,
is
I
a
was gonna
key.
say now, like going back to this, like punk did not come out of nowhere, right?
No,
It
no.
had its influences. The only difference is that I think it's kind of interesting. Punk will blow up in England, but but it does have like in terms of the American background, very American in that
Yeah,
aside from a few bands, but first you had this I love how you said the idea of the outlaw, like the
yeah,
rock and roll rebellion, the rebels. That's always an idea of punk that obviously progressive rock didn't embrace. Progressive rock is more kind of like, philosophy, fantastical, like
yeah,
more fairy tale, whatever. Like, but punk has the idea of the rebel, the person that gives no Fs. You also have songs, Eddie Cochran with like that idea of like, summertime blues or
exactly. Yeah,
that the Clash will end up covering. And the
yeah.
Who actually, weirdly enough, on Live
Oh,
Out
the Who
Leads,
made that.
right?
Actually, I forgot the Kinks and the Who and David Bowie as well.
Well, that's the new wave of the British invasion,
British
right? Where
Invasion. Yeah,
they came to America and there were these bands that were starting to introduce like distortion, this I don't care attitude. And you may look at them like the Kings were very well dressed. So you're thinking that's not
yeah,
punk.
yeah,
It is because if you look at the history of a song like um I really got you, the story behind it, how they got that, how Ray Davies, I think it's Ray Davis,
yeah,
um, or Dave Davies, like how he got that guitar sound. It's so funny how he got it, and they got it on record.
yeah.
The Who, My Generation. I mean,
Oh
talk
my
about
God.
like such a statement, and kind of,
That might be the first real rock punk song if you
yeah.
think
And
about it.
what's the iconic line? I hope I die before I get old, right? Like
That is doesn't get more punk than
it
that. And
does
look,
not
Sid
get more punk,
Vicious, you know,
dude.
and I always say Keith Moon is the predecessor to Sid.
Remember the Who's antics on stage where they would destroy their guitars? I think
Yeah,
as a side story, there was a famous performance. I forgot the show's name. I don't know if it was the Dick Cavett
the
show.
Cavett Show. Yeah,
And
yeah,
remember, and it's crazy. And talk about, you said that Keith Moon is the first punk rocker. Yeah,
yeah,
he hides dynamite in his drum bass and just like lets it explode on stage while Pete Townshend is destroying his guitar. And it's just so
yeah.
funny. I see John Entwistle like protecting his bass.
I know.
It's
Yeah, he
kind
was
of
the
really
opposite
funny.
of
Like
that.
he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, screw this. You guys are not ruining my Rick. Like
yeah,
it's just really funny. But yeah, talk about the first punk antics, right?
yeah,
Um, and it's interesting because it creates like this major influence, like sort of like this incubation,
yeah.
and that obviously is going to explode later. Let me just add one more. I feel, and I read this somewhere and watched this in my research, Johnny Cash as the
Oh
rebel,
yeah,
the
oh
man
yeah,
in black. That kind of, he has that famous photo where he's like flipping off the camera, like he represent, even though it's like you wouldn't think like country, whatever. Like, how does that punk? He, you saw in the movie in Complete Unknown his influence on Bob Dylan, where
oh yeah.
he didn't care. He told Bob Dylan, "Yo, go out there, like don't give an F of
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
say."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's punk right there. Like
Yeah.
the man in
The
black.
punk attitude is not giving a shit what people think. It's
And,
doing what you want.
and I will say, sadly, it will turn into nihilism, which obviously I don't agree with. But before, I had this kind of
Yeah.
like youthful, I don't care, like
Yeah.
um and again, like Summertime Blues, Eddie Cochran is perfectly a lot of people may be wondering, wait, how is Jerry Lee Lewis punk? Listen, Little Richard, the speed, the give no S attitude. That's
Yeah.
is key, Tutti
I mean, those
Frutti.
guys were way better musicians than punk rockers, but you said it. That was a good call. Speed, attitude. Jerry Lee Lewis married his 15-year-old cousin. It doesn't get more punk than that.
Man,
I'm sorry.
it does not get
You
more
know,
nihilistic than that.
exactly. Johnny Thunder's biggest influence was Chuck Berry. A
Yeah.
lot of these punk guys took Chuck Berry as an influence because he was easy to play. His pentatonic riffs were easy to pick up, and for the guys who could play, you can learn those riffs. Johnny Thunder's favorite guitar player was
Yeah.
Chuck Berry.
No, and that's a
You know?
great point. I love how you mentioned Chuck Berry because, well, Chuck Berry opens the doors for so many things, but
Oh,
particularly
for everybody from
this
Keith
dude,
Richards to
this
Johnny
dude,
Thunder,
this dude is Pandora's box. But what's interesting about Chuck Berry is you're right, the easiness of punk. Anyone actually technically could play punk, and Chuck
anybody could play.
Berry, with his simple like riffs, and mind you, they're not simple at first. They're
Yeah.
actually pretty like brilliant. But yeah, he opens the doors and his guitar presence and he made a statement which it's fast. He'll have an influence on Jimi Hendrix and whatever, but on the punks and the young punks, it's gonna develop like this idea of the stage presence where even
Mhm.
if Chuck Berry's obviously a better musician, but and like you said, a lot of these people are better musicians, but
Well, Chuck Berry was doing that thing with his leg,
well, the
so he,
duck walk, which will
yeah,
have an
yeah,
influence on later things, and especially punks,
yeah.
is all about this the presence, the attitude,
It was how they looked and how they acted, and playing was like third or fourth. You know what I mean? Singing out of key, having your guitar slightly out of key, it didn't matter. It was about just going up there, pure aggression,
yeah.
and giving no fucks. And that's why I love punk. So just to go, yeah. So I think I covered, the Velvet Underground,
Oh,
and
dude, wait, pause, dude. The Velvet Underground. Hold on, New York. You have a weird band that releases this weird album cover that was painted by Andy Warhol. And
exactly.
within this band, you have the prototype of punk. And it's fascinating because I read somewhere that nobody bought the Velvet Underground. The only ones that bought it were the ones that started bands.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So the punk influence, and if you hear that song, dude, I'm waiting for the man. Bang, 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 where it's just like easy to play and just like droning.
Oh yeah.
Um, uh, that's all over. You have this like raw sound that,
Yeah.
obviously the Velvet Underground is gonna get a little more softer as it takes a while, but yeah, they have
Yeah.
this raw sound, and their influence on punk is undeniable. I think
Oh, definitely.
when you go back, it's the Velvet Underground, Lou Reed, uh,
Yeah.
Iggy Pop and the Stooges, and MC5
Yeah.
and a little bit of New York Dolls that then leads to this explosion in New York that's going to happen with the Ramones. But
Oh, definitely.
the Velvet Underground is like um uh so influential. And again, at the time they didn't sell any records of that debut album, but
Yeah.
they caused a lot of bands to a lot of um young listeners to start bands because they were like, wait a
Oh,
minute,
yeah.
they can do that, we can do that.
The song I have by them is called Heroin.
Yeah.
It was like a huge
Talk
song.
about talk about like a relevant topic, especially for like the future Sid Vicious, and it's
Yeah.
sad, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's so true. That's what killed Sid. Yeah. You really got me. The Kinks. We talked about the Who. I Want to Be a Dog. The Stooges. And MC5. Kick Out the Jams. Uh, Louie the Kingsman, going way back.
talk about
Um,
what an influence there, right? And then that's the sort of I would call it like proto rock, garage rock, and then also
yeah,
Gloria by the Them, a young Van Morrison.
exactly.
Especially
Thank you
that
for bringing
scream
that.
and ding down down
Yep.
down down down. Like I could see a punk band covering that.
Oh yeah. Um, and I really
And they
think,
did. Patti Smith. It's
oh
not a
yeah,
coincidence.
on her first album, Patti
Yeah.
Smith did. Yeah, and she's credited as making punk really popular. She's the one who was on, of all places, Saturday Night Live with
Mhm.
her hairy armpits. She was very different. you know, um,
I
not the
like
most
how you just
attractive.
focus on those hairy armpits.
Because it was, I remember as a little kid watching it, digging it, going, Mom, I have a question.
Mom, the
Why is this
girl shaves her
lady,
armpits.
because it was like such a, it left a bad impression on little Cheech. Yeah, these hairy armpits, but it's punk. She's like, this smelly lady singing some really great punky, punk vibe kind of songs. She's a huge influence on punk.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about Iggy and the Stooges. Let's talk about Iggy Pop. His influence, like,
Oh man, I read somewhere that I was reading an article piece about the Ramones, and they were saying that the influence and it's crazy because I do believe there's no Iggy Pop, there's no Ramones because
yeah,
the antics of this one individual are legendary. I mean, and again, the music speaks for yourself too, because when he was with the Stooges, um, that debut album, dude, you hear okay, so the Velvet Underground kind of were the archetypes,
and this is like 69, 70. This is
way
early.
ahead of their time.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the song "I Want to Be Your Dog," the distortion on it,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
just that growl, "I wanna be your," like it's like what a,
yeah.
and then raw power later on,
Eh,
Search and Destroy, and
yeah,
and David Bowie, that was I think produced by David Bowie, that whole album,
yeah,
brilliant because David Bowie kind of like tapped that energy, but kind of produced it with the David Bowie magic.
yeah, yeah.
And David Bowie also being a glam,
Well, I think Bowie has a lot to do with punk too. On the glam side, Spiders from Mars,
yeah,
Ziggy Stardust. That was a huge influence on punk in England too. On the glam side,
yeah,
a little bit more musical. Uh, but I think Iggy and the Stooges, the guy would cut himself.
it let,
That was sick. Like in the 70s, like
and talk
Robert
about
Plant.
when we talk
Robert
about
Plant's throwing doves, and this dude's cutting himself. That is the first punk rocker. Iggy Pop
I
is
will
the,
say,
is the first
I
punk
will
rocker.
say, like philosophically, something about the punk thing is that their antics are shock value. Like,
Yeah,
and I think that's where they get influenced by people like Alice Cooper and David Bowie, where they use glam as a shock value kind of thing.
yeah.
But punks are just they're on stage, but they're not there to look pretty. Some of them
No,
are just doing horrific stuff. Um, and again, you ask yourself, why did Iggy Pop cut himself on stage?
I know. You cut
And
yourself. He's got
I remember
scars
seeing
forever.
that.
He's got
Yeah.
scars forever. I mean, and he's not, and from there he influenced, Richard Hell in the Voivods. You know what I mean? We're gonna get into all that stuff. So let me just see something. Uh, okay. And then of course this leads up to 1973, the New York Dolls.
Right.
You know, Now they came onto the scene. They dressed like girls, but they were very masculine, loud, angst lyrics. They were like the first band to have catchy
Yep.
songs and have that glam thing going on. And they were on Mercury Records. Jet Boy and Pills and Trash is a great song by them. So I would say Iggy and the Stooges, the Velvet Underground, and the New York Dolls is leading up to punk. Do I have any more on Iggy? Uh, I think we covered everything on him. Like I Want to Be Your Dog. You said that, no
Mhm.
fun. 1969. This guy came out.
That's way ahead of its time. And that makes sense why at
Yeah.
the time, I don't know if they charted or I don't know how well they were financial, but if I had to take a guess, probably not that well financial.
No, but they knew something was coming. They
Yeah.
they they were brewing. They inspired the New York Iggy Pop inspired the New York Dolls, and then that led to the New York scene. So I'm trying to get notes.
And it's crazy
So
because the New York Dolls, like, they also open up a can of worms because they inspire so many genres. Like they're not entirely punk per se, but
no,
it's just that attitude. But I think the more influence is Iggy Pop and the Stooges. I think there's no doubt.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then going back finally in the prehistoric times, among the other influences, you have the Velvet Underground. Um,
yeah,
just because, and again, they're the example where you could tell, like, and talk about like that geese sound where it's so raw. They're
yeah.
they're just jamming. Sometimes it sounds very kind of like you can tell like these instruments are out of tune. Like
they were the opposite of like what Pink Floyd was doing, making
Right.
perfection,
Or the
or
Beatles
yes.
of the Beatles of
Oh,
the time
yeah,
were
exactly.
crafting magic in the studio. They were just like, and their topics, I'm Waiting for the Man is about scoring drugs in New York.
A lot about
Venus,
drugs, New
Venus
York.
and First is about BDSM. I mean, like
Yeah,
dark, slimy. Even like
yeah.
it's gonna come out in the Ramones and Nevermind the Bollocks, both very slimy, dark
Oh
albums.
yeah,
Punk
very,
is
very
uh
good.
Punk is very dark and nihilistic and pessimistic at times too.
Yeah. So the timeline we're at now, Iggy 69, we did any more on the prehistoric guys before I move forward? Any more
No,
on
unless
any
you have anything else, I think that's a good like quick summary. And obviously there are
Yeah.
other books and videos you can watch to get more detailed on this because
Oh yeah.
otherwise we are forever.
I think those were the main ones. Iggy Pop being the main
Well, and I
punk
will say,
rocker.
and just one song. You want to hear early punk? Raw Power by Iggy and the Stooges.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just hear that. And one of my favorites, Search and Destroy. I love that song. I love how fast.
Yeah.
Um, and again, this is Iggy and the Stooges, produced by David Bowie, also on the forefront.
And this is 1970. I mean, this is before the Dolls.
Dude, how? And again, I don't know if they made any money, but like, I was thinking, what did the audience think of this?
At the time, it's all hippies and stuff. Like, what kind of crazy people were following Iggy Pop? I don't know where his
That's what I'm saying. And his solo albums,
demographic
and
was.
his solo albums are crazy too. Uh, great musician, like an artist, like just how ahead of the time he was. Like
Yeah, yeah, he definitely.
Search and Destroy, Raw Power. Just listen to the album alone, like to see what we're
Yeah,
talking. And the Stooges, I Want to Be Your Dog,
yep,
or any Iggy Pop and the Stooges album, way
yeah.
ahead of their time.
They started, as far as I'm concerned, them the Velvet Underground was the trashy, sleazy part, and Iggy Pop was just the Sex Pistols before the Sex Pistols, pretty much. So then the Dolls come out, they're really popular. I think it was Max's Kansas City is where they used to play a lot in the city. And then a little bar called Country Bluegrass Blues opens up called CBGB's. And I guess they didn't know what to do. So a band named Television, auditions and was the first band to play at CBGB's. And I'm just going to name some bands that played there, and we're going to get heavy into it. The Ramones, the Talking Heads, Blondie, Misfits, Patti Smith. And they all had a different sound from each other, and it was very different from England. Okay, so you want to talk a little bit about that, like the CBGB's
Yeah.
sound, you
So,
know.
so you mentioned New York Dolls, which opened up like the New York scene.
Yeah,
And again, New York Dolls, they're definitely punk, but not they all have more influence on like glam metal, Kiss, whatever. Like
yeah,
what's gonna end up happening after
exactly.
Aerosmith, even though Aerosmith was kind of coming out, but I think they
Yeah,
definitely had an influence on Aerosmith, whatever. Like, they were very early ahead of their time, and obviously
yeah.
glam metal in the 80s, like
Oh
Motley
yeah,
Crue.
yeah.
But
Twisted Sister, you
right,
know.
right. So we have this like dingy bar club, CBGB's. And I think it's fascinating. Television. I think we should talk about television first, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because they are interesting.
yeah.
And we gotta talk about this. Like a lot of these TVGB bands, are they punk? Like, like
Well, I have a list. Like, I mean, let me just go through like what I have first. Like, um, just I'm gonna get into television big time, But first, like
oh,
1974
oh, before
and
you go to
19.
your list,
Yeah,
I just had this one thing I want to share.
yeah, I'm sorry.
The idea of yeah, like the idea of punk was trying to figure out, in my opinion, I think the punks, when they became finally like, a scene, were trying to fix where they believe rock had gone wrong, right?
Yeah.
And they view, for example, progressive rock, like that's rock,
Oh yeah,
what
yeah,
happened, right? Or even like what you saw with like commercial rock as well, where
yeah.
I get it, like at the time, you saw this like you said the hippie scene,
Yeah, they didn't want
even
any part of that.
even in a way, in America, I think they were rejecting English rock, like Led Zeppelin,
Hmm.
and why
Deep
should
Purple,
Deep
they
Purple?
definitely hated Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was completely different. Like I said, like I'm gonna talk about these bands, then I'm gonna break down their specific albums. Like, so I kind of wrote this in a weird format. So 1974, television comes out. They became the main influence in the New York scene for punk by their look and their sound. Ripped t-shirts and black leather jackets. And that inspired, who do you think that inspired?
The Ramones.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it's just so funny. We'll talk about this maybe later or in our discussion, the Ramones versus television.
Yeah.
Television is odd. Yes, they're punk for their style, aesthetic,
Yeah.
but philosophically, they were not aiming to destroy rock
No.
music.
They
They
wanted to make
em
art.
they embraced it. And if anything, they were the
Yeah.
proggiest punk band. They
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 were.
invented prog punk.
Oh, they totally did. And they also had, some say, the first punk song. What's the guy who started television? I forget. I didn't write his name in.
Oh, that this is I'll tell you right now. This is tell you right now. This is Tom Verlaine. I think that's you pronounce.
Tom Verlaine and Patti Smith did a cover of "Hey Joe,"
Mm,
and some say that was in 1974. That was what sparked the punk movement. Okay, and then the Ramones came out in 76, and they took the influence by television's look. Um, and then the Ramones played CBGB's in 1975, and they became like the pop punk of of the CBGBs. They had the catchier songs, where compared to television, television was that art punk.
mm.
If you want to look at it that way. Um, but the thing about what makes them so interesting, no punk rock bands have recorded anything yet, except for Patti Smith. So in 1975, television released Little Johnny Jewel, and it was on a major label, and they were the first recorded real punk band to be recorded. So that's why they're so important in punk history.
Mhm.
Um, it was a and it was like a breakthrough song, and then they had their breakthrough album, and then it kind of made punk about culture and music. You know, um, then in 1976, the first Ramones album comes out. At this time, the music scene was what we said. It was corporate prog, disco, radio rock, soft
Corporate, also Hard Rock was high.
hard rock. The Ramones came out with no show, just their leather jackets. At the time, you had Kiss and Yes doing these big shows, just stripped down music. The Ramones album, The Ramones, blew up. Now, this CBGB scene was starting to get very popular. You all the bands we talked about, television, the Ramones,
Yeah,
the Dead Boys.
yeah.
Well, I didn't mention Talking Heads and Blondie. Who do you think was lurking in the shadows?
And Patti Smith.
Oh, of course, Patti Smith. Who was lurking in the shadows and was scratching their head as they worked for the New York Dolls or managed them?
The famous Malcolm McLaren.
Malcolm McLaren was
Yeah.
scratching his head,
Yeah.
seeing
No,
this.
no, and this is now he's the seed, dude. This is the key point because again, and let me just share one more thing that I forgot that I want to mention. Now, the scene's happening, but it's funny. They did not know that they were like punks. I read
Yeah.
an interview, Patti Smith, when someone called her a punk, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
No, we're playing music. Like
Yeah.
they thought they were rescuing. They thought they were the new age of rock, but they didn't call it punk. Like,
No, a journalist came up with it, you
right,
know.
right. It's very similar to the progressive rock title, where they're just
Yeah.
making music. Like that, it's like the
Yeah.
scene, right? The Canterbury scene inspired progressive rock. This
Right.
New York scene, the CBGB scene.
Yeah.
Uh, and I love how you said like the Ramones, and television. And one final detail is think about is the big rock bands. Let's think about it. They're getting all the girls. They look masculine. They look like
Oh yeah.
gods up on stage. These guys, they don't look
No.
like they
No.
look like you and I, or they look like
Yeah.
dweeby or like skinny. Not even like,
David Byrne looked like a dork. You know what I
dude,
mean?
dude, the television album cover is scary. Like if you
Yeah. Oh, they look like they should be in like MIT, you know, like
yeah,
studying,
right.
you know, they're
Dude,
like
the Ramones look like these like, weird Jewish kids. I'm
the Ramones look like a biker gang, you know, kind of.
like they look like a nerdy, skinny, like Jewish biker, get
Yeah,
beat up.
they didn't even really look that cool because they all had like yeah,
No.
glasses and you know,
No.
yeah,
And so you have and Talking Heads, they look weird. Like
very
I'm
strange.
surprised they got anywhere. Anyway, and the point is this, like that's the point.
The only ones who looked real punk, I would say, was the Dead Boys, who came out in that scene. You know, they were they came out. They're the fifth big one. You know, Blondie, the
Right,
Talking Heads,
right.
the
But
Ramones,
but again,
Television, and the Dead Boys.
yeah, yeah. But my point here is like, it's not that they look punk, is that they were trying to reject what they
Yeah,
saw was like, you know, you saw like plants, masculine, beautiful, even like all these singers, like especially at the time, they was sort of like they were good looking, they pulled in the ladies. These guys were not playing the ladies.
no, no,
Like that's the funny thing also about the punk aesthetic and
yeah,
idea. Before it was known as punk, but it was a scene.
yeah,
This now Malcolm McLaren comes in. Now this is key because
yeah.
he's at CBGB's, and I don't know if you have the story. You can head into
Yeah.
this direction.
So he was managing the New York Dolls or Rodian or something for them. I'm pretty sure managing. Um, so he was so inspired by this. He goes back to England. He opens up a sex shop in London called Sex Crazy Fashion. So a lot of these degenerate kids start to hang out there.
Right.
Two of them, Paul Cook and Steve Jones, and they became friends with Malcolm McLaren, and he liked the way that they looked. And then, where am I?
Malcolm McLaren, yeah.
Then this guy walks in, Johnny Rotten, and he just saw him, and he was like, "Wait a second, I got these two other guys. You have the look." Then Glenn Matlock comes in, and he's like, you guys need to form a band. I'll manage you. You will be
Mhm.
the biggest thing in the world." So the Sex Pistols were invented by Malcolm McLaren, and he's the manager, and he's the man who invented English punk. Now it was going on already, but it wasn't popular because the Damned were doing it before the Pistols were.
Mhm.
But this is in small clubs, and it was really low key. Um, so he's the man that invented it, and it blew up in London. So after they started to play these little shitty bars, they started to get a following. Somehow he gets them a record deal, and they come out with Nevermind the Bollocks. And this is 1977. Now let's think about 1977. What's going on in 1977? Okay. Before we even get into
Mhm.
Nevermind the Bollocks. 1977, Zeppelin had just put out Presents.
Yeah.
A Farewell to Kings is out.
Yeah.
Yes is doing Going for the One. I know what Bruce Springsteen album was out
I'm
then.
pretty sure it was he was working on Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Yeah.
Boston, corporate rock is already emerging. Sabbath is blowing up.
Yeah,
Deep
and Sav
Purple.
is already commercial at this point because they're
Yeah,
massive.
yeah. Uh, you know, um, so music was kind of at a standstill in a way. Like you had Boston who kind of like rock and roll back, but they needed to be a change. There needed to be a change, right? Because like corporate rock wasn't quite there yet. You know what I mean? Like Styx
Mhm.
was out, Kansas was out, but they were more prog. Boston might have been the first real corporate rock
Mhm.
that was being played on the radio. Frampton Comes Alive was out.
Mhm. Aerosmith, Kiss also were riding high.
Yeah, Kiss was super riding high. But there was like, disco and soft rock. So there kind of needed to be a change because maybe people were just getting like a little bit of bored of everything. So out comes Nevermind the Bollocks, 1977.
Mhm.
Now, not so much in America, but in the UK, this
Mhm.
became the number one album, and it took off. It,
Yep.
it it made it made the Sex Pistols go international because I remember watching them on the news as a little kid. They were like the Sex Pistols, a new kind of music called punk rock, and they would do like these like little 10-minute segments on them, and I was thinking, what is this? This guy screaming into a microphone. This
Right.
other guy with spiky hair and a leather jacket's jumping around. Like, what the hell? This is amazing. So different from ABBA, Dancing Queen. You
Right.
know, so
Right.
different from More Than a Feeling. So different from I Want to Rock and Roll all night and party every day and having
Yeah.
sparks go up. So this was brand new and it was fresh. These guys were all young and is the beginning of punk rock. And then exit Glenn Matlock, who played on every song except for Bodies, comes in the look of punk rock. Sid Vicious joins in 1977, and this forever makes the Sex Pistols.
Hmm.
Because I think if Matlock stayed in the band, they wouldn't be as cool.
Well, it's funny. I read somewhere too that Matlock, also, I think he wasn't fired, but I think it was McLaren saying, "Yeah, this guy sucks because he likes the Beatles or something." Like,
Yeah, he was a
eh,
musician. He's a great
no, and
bass
it's
player.
crazy because one of the things that anchors down, uh, um, Nevermind is Nevermind Nirvana, Nevermind the
Yeah,
Bollocks is the rhythm. Like it's so catchy. Like, dude,
yeah,
I know it's weird, but you would
yeah,
think it's unlistenable. You know, he listened to a lot of post punk, it's a lot of like Rage, kind of like a lot of
yeah,
Distortion Weekend.
yeah,
No, the beat, it's tight. And actually, the funny thing, I can hear that messiness on Bodies because the song Bodies, because strangely
yeah.
enough, that's one of the ones that Sid Vicious actually plays.
He
But
only played on that one song.
right,
Matlock played on every other
he
song,
did, he
and it's
did.
really he's a good bass player. Um, and the songs were catchy. They didn't suck. Johnny, they sucked live. I mean,
Well,
in a good way, in a punk way.
exactly, exactly. Which I think and not to mention the controversy they would cause because, you
Oh
know,
yeah, when they came to town, it was like insane. It was
right,
like forget
right,
about it.
right.
They didn't really tour America that much. They did at the end. They came to the
Hmm.
Winterland and they
Hmm.
went and did a Southern tour or whatever, and that made the news. But when Vicious joined, it became punk rock. I think you know what I mean. I really think the Sex Pistols became punk rock because he is the look of punk rock. There's nobody cooler than Sid Vicious.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
he represents what the punk aesthetic that's
Yeah,
going to be modeled and copied
yeah,
from ever since then.
exactly. You
Ramon
know,
started it, Sex Pistols perfected, and it's funny because um it's kind of funny because McLaren has that sex shop, and I think leather has a lot to do
yeah,
with that. So
yeah,
there's
S and
something.
M and all that stuff.
Yeah, and just
But
I think he called the store. I think he just called it sex or whatever.
no, what did I say? It was called. Um, I have the name somewhere. Where did I put it?
Which is funny. He probably gave the name of the band the Sex Pistols. Think about
Yeah,
that name.
he came up with the
No,
name.
think about that name. Like
It's
if
called Sex Crazy Fashion.
Okay, like just think about it. Like, yo, you listen to that new Sex Pistols album? Like, dude,
Yeah,
what?
at that time with that name, like a gun is a pistol and then sex. How genius is that?
I mean, like,
Or is it in reference to a part of a man's
well,
body?
I think it's that, but it also
Yeah,
it's like, and even the title, never mind the bollocks. Bollocks is a bad word in the English language in
yeah,
England. So, dude, these guys are like causing controversy, and
yeah,
what's crazy is how the album went to number one. Just to sh
yeah.
goes to show you where England's rock scene was heading towards too. You know,
In the
like
UK, in the UK,
in the UK.
and because at that time it was 77, so we'll go to the UK. Forget America. You have Prague is dying, and then Zeppelin is coming to the end of their career. Into the Outdoor is about to come out. What was the Who? The Who's next? 77?
Oh no,
No,
Who's
no,
Next
no.
was like 70. No, in
Oh,
77, I think they released Who Are You?
who? Okay, okay. Who are you?
Yeah, which is interesting. The album's great, but yeah, it's far from what punk.
So no, but I'm saying like what they were going up against, like the Who, like led,
Yeah.
what they were just like these bands were coming to an end. The Who was coming to an end.
Yep, yep.
Oh, 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 um, whatchamacallit? Keith Moon dies in
Well,
77.
yeah, but like 1977, like look, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Well, you said that rock was getting a little boring, and I
Yeah,
love Rumors, but I can see why a lot of people
yeah,
would think that. Meatloaf's Bad Out of Hell. We got Queen on the rise, Pink Floyd,
yeah,
The Clash, which we're going to talk about soon. AC/DC was still also riding high.
yeah,
Electric Light Orchestra, Foreigner,
yeah,
Foreigner. By
yeah.
the way, you have this
Corporate
like, and
rock.
Foreigner is like corporate rock, the height.
Yeah,
So you have Nevermind the Bollocks in the UK, number one.
yeah,
And again, I get it where because of that, a lot of people thought it killed progressive rock, but it didn't.
yeah,
But it did have this weird effect where that album, like the Ramones, and it's funny, the Ramones, um, they were not that successful commercially. Like they were okay,
yeah.
um, from what I
They
understand.
got they got more successful later on.
Yes, yes. Um, Sex Pistols were more successful. The only problem
Oh
I think
yeah.
McLaren robbed them. I think there's a lot
Oh yeah.
that band is like a bomb where and
Oh
then
yeah.
they went nowhere. Like they just
Yeah.
imploded. And
They
that's when if you
imploded.
watch those live shows, you're gonna laugh
Oh
how
yeah.
Johnny
Winterland, the last show they ever played, they actually started to get tight and sound good compared to the earlier stuff.
right.
Sid, he's playing with, God, the guy he's got band-aids where his heroin marks are on him. I mean, he's a
It's just
mess. Sid is a
nuts.
mess. His nose is bleeding. He bash himself with he break his nose every show with his bass. I mean, Sid Vicious was completely out of his mind, and Johnny Rotten they were out of their mind.
Yeah. Um
And
it
and that's what like made and the other two guys, Steve Jones and the drummer, they were just like
they
regular
they
they're
were
regular
actually
guys.
the musicians, and they're like,
Yeah.
and if anything, they had a big dude, I will say the guitar riffs are immaculate. Like talk about
He's a good musician.
I love the beginning of and we'll talk about this more detail, but I just want to
Yeah.
mention these Matlock is a wonderful bass player and his love of the Beatles.
Fantastic.
That's why like if you hear some of those lines, like they're phenomenal. They anchor down Johnny Ryan and obviously Sid Vicious coming in, even though he's like the punk aesthetic, this dude can't play. And
I think
he can play for what it is. Like he's the type where
he got lessons from
like dude, it's a
Paul
joke.
Paul Simon from the Clash.
You mentioned that. Yeah, yeah.
They
Which
gave him
talk about
lessons.
you talk about
And
master
oh
uh
yeah. And McLaren just wanted the look. He just saw Sid Vicious walk in and he was like, he's in the band. It doesn't matter if he
wh-
plays or not.
no, well that's what's crazy. But like I can imagine like, Sid Vicious, there's an all right man, just play D. Ding 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 ding. Like just keep
Yeah,
it like
yeah.
that. And I remember watching a video and that's all I see him playing like one string.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
lie, that is really cool. Kind of
Oh
makes me
yeah.
think, man, can I do that? Like,
Yeah.
like
Anybody could play
it's
punk,
crazy.
you
And,
know?
and I will say just one thing about Bodies, which gruesome song, but for some odd reason I love this song and I love how it
Yeah.
begins with the down 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 down, like it sounds very
Yeah.
down 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 down, down, like, and then you just hear that anchoring down, and I heard that Sid Vicious played partial bass, so my like was kind of there, but then he left. So Vicious came in and probably all hardened out. Yo, what you want, me? All right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like,
It is kind of, yeah.
no, just play D. Then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
Well, they
great.
had to have him on the album because he was in the band,
Right, right.
or when, so he played on one song. Um, and Johnny Rotten's signature vocals, if you want to call them, make the band without.
This is my impersonation. She was a girl from Birmingham. Like it's like a
Yeah, yeah.
screech. It's like I can only imagine what it sounded like live. Like how
And he
insane.
had his English accent. Well, he
He
sang.
wanted an abortion. Like
Yeah, yeah,
he's just like it's like a slimy. It's English screeching. Very different from like the Ramones, because the Ramones actually, like, even though like the vocals are Joey not the best vocalist, like he's all right, but for his band is amazing.
yeah,
But I don't even know how to I would describe Joey Ramone's vocals, but they're definitely different from
yeah.
Johnny Rotten. And if I
I
can
mean,
quote,
they're better. He's a better singer.
yeah, yeah,
You
for
know.
sure,
I
100%.
wanna be your boyfriend. You know what I
I
mean?
wanna be your boyfriend and
Yeah.
little girl.
It's so catchy and it's
Yeah.
it's like melodic and stuff.
And meanwhile,
I
then
wanna
you have
be
Johnny Ryan with like, she was a girl from.
oh, you know, um, so like, you know, so where was I? I
Oh,
didn't say
oh,
it.
and if I can, just one more punk
Yeah,
influence.
sure.
Dude, punk influence Neil Young. The song My Hey Hey Out
Oh
of My
yeah,
Head. We have the iconic line. Look at this. The king is gone, but he's not forgotten. This is the story of a Johnny Rotten. It's better to burn out than it is to rust. The king is gone, but not forgotten. So Neil Young, and then years later on Kurt Cobain's suicide note, he quotes that it's better to burn out than to fade away than to like, and then I love what Neil Young says here, rock and roll can never die. There's more to the picture than meets the eye. And this is a love letter to the Sex
yeah,
Pistols. We're just
exactly.
showing you that influence they had. It's
Oh
nuts.
yeah. They reached everybody. The Sex Pistols
Yeah.
reached Maiden, they reached Paul Di'Anno, whether Steve
Yeah.
Harris wants to admit that.
Dude,
It
the
re,
style. Let's be
it
honest. Like I know black leather was already kind of a thing,
yeah,
but I mean, I see Paul Deanna. I think we talked about this. It's kind of odd.
yeah. He had a punk thing about him,
Kind of looks
you know.
punk. So
He
Cheech,
was
we reached the
he liked the Sex Pistols, admittedly.
there we go. And
And then
with Cheech, so we reached the
yeah.
1 hour mark. What do we want to do?
Let me just wrap up the Pistols
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
Um, so when Sid Vicious joined, they became an official punk band. The album came out. The songs were about rebellious attitude, anti-establishment, groundbreaking songs, Anarchy in the UK, God Save the Queen, Pretty Vacant Bodies, Holiday in the Sun. I mean, just anarchy in the UK. What is that saying? You
Dude.
know?
And if I can quote that song really quick, he literally says, I am an antichrist. Don't know what I want, but I know how to get it. I want to destroy passerby because I want to be anarchy. Like, dude, this dude is. Think about those lyrics for a sec.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
frightening. We're
it is. I mean,
anarchy in the UK.
God Save the Queen. What is that saying? They want God better save the Queen because they want her dead. They
God,
hated the Queen of England.
yeah, and he accuses her of the fascist regime, and think about also what they're doing to Trump too now. It kind of echoes that. But
Yeah,
they made you a moron, potential H bomb. God save the Queen, potential H bomb. Think about it. Like they want to destroy England. She ain't no, and probably off with her head kind of thing there. She
yeah,
and
exactly.
Johnny Rotten just dehumanizes her. She ain't no human being, and there's no future in England's dreaming. Like, God
Yeah,
save the Queen. Like,
because what was she doing for the poor middle class
yeah,
kids of London? These kids had nothing, just like the New Auburn kids, and this trickled down into New Auburn as well, musically. But like, you either grew up like your father and you worked in a factory, like his father, and the father before that, and the father before that, or you sold drugs, or you robbed. Like what were your choices in London at that time in like 76, 77? There were no jobs for these kids. And that's why they formed these bands and they were so pissed off. Um, and then bodies. We talked about bodies. I mean, that's just about abortion. That's
Gruesome song, but
brutal.
ironically one of the most like anthemic sounding. Like I love the energy they put into it, but
Oh, yeah, that's
Johnny
my favorite
Ron
song.
is unhinged. Like especially
Bodies.
yeah, buddies. I want
It-
another animal. Like I'm like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
the heck? And it's crazy. Look at these lines. Um, yeah, she was a bloody disgrace. Bodies. I'm not an animal. And then one of the horrifying lyrics. Look at this, where it stops and then damn, damn, fuck this and fuck that, fuck it all, fuck. Like he's just like,
Oh, he's just going
dude, that's
insane.
controversy.
Yeah, no.
I would wonder what how that song would go today with the. Is this a pro-abortion song? Against abortion song?
You don't know.
I don't
I,
know.
I think it's against abortion because
I
he's
no,
calling her
you
an
know what it
animal.
is? You know what it is? It's Johnny Run and crew telling you the
He's
situation of the time.
yeah.
Horrible how abortions were in that
He's
poor era.
calling Pauline. I think her name is Pauline, an animal for having an abortion.
Yo,
If you break it down, I
yo,
think,
listen. I mean, and
which is weird because punk rockers wouldn't give a shit if you would think, hey, have an abortion, go have an abortion. I don't care. I'm a punk
right,
rocker. You know what I
right.
mean? But so there was a point, and they were no dummies. They read Nietzsche.
Oh no, they
Johnny
were
Rotten, he
smart.
read Nietzsche, nihilistic philosophy.
Schopenhauer, pessimism, I would suspect.
Schopenhauer,
Anarchy.
my boy, Schopenhauer.
Mr. Schopenhauer here. Yeah, man. Like, but I just I love how musically that song is so catchy. See
Yeah,
how it begins and then din 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 and din 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 like it kind of echoes that Ramon sound and then
yeah,
just Rotten's voice. She was the girl from Birmingham. She just had an abortion. She was a case of insanity, and he has that great
yeah,
English accent. Her name was Pauline, and she lived in a tray. Like there was no one who killed her, baby. She sent her letters from the country. Like he's just telling the story as it is. No,
yeah,
he's not telling you how he feels about it, but it just gets gruesome. It's like a horror movie. Like
yeah,
lots of horror movie. And another one of my favorite songs is No Feelings too. Dead end,
yep.
dead end, like that rage, that fast.
And just think about that title, No Feelings. You're numb.
You're
You're not
numb,
comfortably
man.
numb. You don't care.
Right? Though. You just don't. I have no feeling. I have no feeling. I have no feeling for anybody else. Like, dude, like this is definitely like
It's definitely a nihilistic poem. You
it,
know,
it,
it
it,
is
it
poetry.
self-deprecating, nihilistic, pessimistic, anarchistic,
Yeah,
anti-Christistic. Like this is
yeah,
the antichrist of rock, and
yeah.
again, again, it's not a coincidence how they couldn't carry on because if they lived this
No.
philosophy, there's no way. Like
Well, look what happened.
they
Sid,
imploded.
Sid died, and he died horrible.
There's a lot of consequence there. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple more things on them. They started to popularize punk on the next level. Um, you know, um, they took it to the next level. They were the biggest punk band in the world. What did they do? They started a movement. Malcolm McLaren started a movement in England. It was already there, but it was blown up. He blew it up.
He did with that curated image.
Yes. Change social norms and authority with their music, you know.
Mhm.
They inspired countless punk bands. Think
Uh,
about you
their
know,
influence is insane. And again, it's kind of weird. Number one, so they definitely made money, but I don't think they saw the money. But
no.
I think I think Rotten is mad because McLaren cheated them, and
Oh
the
yeah.
band imploded. I mean, think
Well, he
about it.
says that at a show. Have you ever felt like you've been cheated?
Oh, see, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a famous line that he says
There we
in
go.
out of an American show. Yeah.
There we go.
When
Yeah.
they played America, I remember as a kid, it was all over the news. The Sex Pistols come, and they went to the South. It was done on purpose. They
Oh,
went to like the
to
Bible
raise the
Belt.
controversy that McLaren fed them to the lion.
McLaren is such a genius. He's a fucking genius.
I mean, yeah.
What he did. He invented a
Not for
genre.
the Sex Pistols.
No, no, but like what he did. He
Yeah,
invented punk.
yeah.
You got to say like
He
he
curated the image.
yeah, he invented the image of punk
Yeah.
and the song and they wrote the songs. He was on it. He didn't write
Yeah.
any of the songs. So there is talent there because the songs are genius.
Musically,
You
100%.
know, I mean the Sex Pistols are in the sense of punk, they're the Rush of punk.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the punk sense,
It,
not in the musical sense, not like, the Clash were the Rush in
right.
the musical
Right.
sense.
Right.
Um, so, they changed social norms and authority. How do you feel about that statement?
Yeah, dude, it caused kids to, and not even, it's not like the 60s questioning authority. Kids became kind of violent. Like, it
Yeah.
kind of caused this sort of like, and it's so funny because you see this, a rejection of like usual norms, mohawks, piercings. It's
Yeah,
kind of
I
funny
mean,
'cause
this it wasn't even like now. You go, these kids got a fucking pin. It's like the mom, can I borrow a safety pin? I'm going to see the Pistols tonight. Shove it in their nose, you know, and and then the mohawks, the ripped jeans, the
it was a total statement, total rejection of
dyeing your hair, and they didn't even
right,
have hair dye back then. I
right,
think they
right.
used like plants and
A-
things,
And you saw it in early Clash. We're gonna be talking about the Clash probably in the next episode, but
Yeah,
you saw the influence. It started out kind of conservative with the Ramones with leather jacket, but even the ripped jeans, that's such a New York look, like Springsteen kind of would
yeah,
look like that too.
yeah, yeah,
But then the punks, thanks to McLaren,
yeah,
curated this image that now punk. It's kind of like, you kind of like loose everything, like
yeah,
screw the man. We're not, you're gonna do mohawks, dye your hair.
yeah,
Girls are gonna be tatted now, like
yeah,
you got the piercings, lead, the
yeah.
spike, like just
Everyone had their middle fingers up. They were
right.
spitting. Like the audience is going like that to the Sex
Shows are
Pistols
violent, dude.
and
Not only Sex
spitting at
Pistols,
them. They were spitting
yeah.
at them. I mean, but loving them at the same
The
time.
shows became like a weird violence, but embracing, like it's strange.
Yeah. I mean, how do you, in a psychological sense, how do you take take that?
You
You
know
you
what it
like
is?
the band, but you hate the band.
I think they become sort of like, we kind of talked about this, we got go into too much details how, certain, like people you just want to be violent, right? Like I think that's the same idea like with the Sex Pistols, the youth who were angry, they probably, whatever, they hated their lives, they hated their
Yeah.
jobs,
They
they
had no
hated school,
futures. They didn't
no
like,
future. They
no.
come to Sex Pistols and they just it's kind of like a mosh pit idea where they just release the anger on
Yeah.
the band are like, yeah, yeah, like, but then, obviously if they get bruised or cut or beat up, they also embrace it. It's kind of like a feedback loop. And
Yeah.
that's what happened. But the downside, and I will say this is funny, Roger Waters. Now, I talked about this before where the youth were already infected with this energy. The new Pink Floyd audience that came to their shows now, Water wanted them to sit down, listen to the music, contemplate it. Now think about it. Do you think punks are gonna do that or the youth? No, they want energy, they want release. And Waters became hating on his audience, and this time also taking a punk attitude where he started spitting on a fan, flipping them off. Like
Yeah.
now that's very punk too, because they did the same thing. Like Johnny Rotten was famous for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only difference is that they contributed to the feedback loop. Pink Floyd were like, we don't like this. But
Yeah.
it shows you where England was heading towards too, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and
Oh
in
yeah.
America too, the American audiences were getting, the youth were embracing the punk energy, and And obviously it was the classic rock, the classicists, the Led Zeppelins, the
Yeah.
Floyds, but you're definitely seeing the energy coming here, like,
Oh yeah. It
but
was energy that no rock had before. There was no energy like that.
and,
Nothing was done like that ever, ever.
and obviously that also scared the adults. Like
Oh, that scared a lot of people.
and think about it, your parents probably were scared of this, if you came home punk, like,
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember watching it on TV and it was like shocking. Everyone was like, "What is this? They're coming to America?" They were like they were scary people, the Sex Pistols. So that was a good point on the norms and authority. Inspired countless punk bands, and I just got to say two names: Sid and Nancy. So they had this drama. They had
tragic
this
duo there, yeah.
lunatic woman from New York who followed them and fell in love and manipulated and gaslighted and fucked over poor Sid. Now, Sid was like a child and he needed that woman figure.
Makes sense.
And she used him. She used the shit out of him. And we're gonna get into. He didn't kill her. Sid Vicious did not kill Nancy, in my opinion, in my research and stuff. She was killed by a drug dealer that they owed money, but that's a whole thing. But just think having Sid and Nancy as a part of your band, these two lovers, boyfriend and girlfriend, pictures of them. Johnny Rotten hated her, fucking couldn't stand her. She was a loudmouth troublemaker. She kept wanting him to leave the band. She's like, well, they're shit without you. Leave the band. And eventually, they broke up, and he did. And our favorite song ever is by Sid Vicious,
I,
"My Way."
dude, I literally was gonna say one of the greatest covers of all time.
I got
And,
it. I got to admit, it is. It really
it
is.
I mean, obviously the mayor would hate it. Like he would hate it with a passion. If I don't know if he was alive to hear it, but
Oh, he would think it's an abomination. Yeah. Oh, he was alive. He probably heard it.
oh, okay, he probably hated it. But this is one of it's such a punk. If you want to hear what punk is all about, listen to My Way.
Yeah.
And I love how they used it in Goodfellas at the end of the movie without spoiling too much. I think I talked to you about this where
Yeah.
you see without spoiling too much for those who haven't seen the movie, but Joe Pesci, and if you know the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. He's staring, and Martin Scorsese gets this. Like he always uses music brilliantly. You see Joe Pesci staring at the screen, and then the gun pointed at you, and shots, 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 and then you hear din 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 din, din like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, for years, like, what song is that? I love
Yeah.
this song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and he's like, singing,
Yeah.
out of tune, but that's punk. It's actually beautiful when you
And
actually listen to it.
some of his solo stuff at CBGB's is really good. He had
That-
like a solo thing going on. I mean, but he was not on this planet. He was so strung out and high all the time.
yeah, he was a tragic case, and I think,
The rumors are that his mother was a junkie and she killed him. She
dude, we should
gave
have a separate episode on this.
She gave him a whole
Uh,
lot of heroin because he was going to go to jail for the rest of his life for a murder that he didn't commit. I actually feel sorry for Sid Vicious.
dude, we should have a separate episode on this,
Oh,
like
oh, I know, I
on
know.
the
I just,
encyclopedia, like
yeah,
just to show you these characters are punk.
yeah.
So
Um,
any last minute things? Because I think we reached the
yes.
past 1 hour mark.
The lyrics target politics, and this is my favorite: not to conform, nihilistic attitude, and anger. I think that about sums up the Sex Pistols. And we're gonna break down Nevermind the
Oh, we're
Bollocks.
gonna get in detail. This is like
Yeah,
part one. So
yeah.
we reached the point where we talk about the and then I think next episode we'll talk more also detail about the Ramones. But
Well,
sec
yeah, I want to stick with England because I got the
yep, yep. And
dam.
that was your goal. Yep, yep. Like
Yeah,
England, right? Because that's where true punk explodes. And
because that's where it started. I mean, it started in New York, but then Malcolm stole it and made it blow up in England, and it was way more popular in England than
Mhm.
it was
It
in
was.
New York. at that time.
Next episode I may do a little thing on the Ramones. Like not right now, just to talk
Yes.
about a bit about them because from a musical standpoint.
Oh,
Because
here's an important thing I left out. The Ramones toured England, and that inspired a lot of bands like
mhm,
the Clash and like the Pistols around 75,
yeah,
76.
yeah.
So the Ramones definitely had a huge influence on the Sex Pistols and the Clash and the Damned.
No,
You know?
and then yeah, in the next episode, I'm gonna talk about just tiny detail about them, just to show you that. And in the future, I think we'll have probably have some on the Ramones debut,
Oh, that's
more
such a great
detail,
album.
more
Yeah, yeah,
detail.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
all right,
yeah. Well, when I get into New York, I break down, the Ramones. But I figured I wanted to start in England because
yeah, no,
what Malcolm did, he took the idea and it got way more popular
yeah,
in England.
yeah,
And
I agree with that.
and it was more popular worldwide than CBGBs. Nobody in Canada or America knew about CBGBs. Like outside of New York, the tri-state area, I don't think CBGBs blew up until much,
No,
much
I
later.
think more with like the rock historians and critics, they knew CBGBs.
No, but I'm saying like in
Yes, yes,
1977,
yes. And
76, like see,
CBGBs was like this dingy club, like it wasn't
yeah.
even.
And it wasn't until by the time the Pistols imploded, all the bands that played CBGBs were massively successful.
Yep.
The Ramones, Blondie, forget about it. The Talking Heads, forget about it. They
Hmm.
were on the charts.
Yeah.
Television went away, but Blondie and the Talking Heads were the two biggest things to ever come out of CBGBs. And then there's a million other punk bands that will leave at that. But yeah, so that about sums up, the portion of the Sex Pistols on the Punk Encyclopedia.
In part one.
Anything else on punk or anything else like that you
Uh,
want to add?
I'll just say get your punk hairdos on, punk style and attitude on because hang in there because this is part one.
In the history of music, punk is just like Beethoven, just like the Canterbury scene, just like classic rock, reggae,
Hmm.
jazz, Coltrane, Robert Johnson. Punk is just as important, and it has its place that's so, so important. So important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
All right, man.
okay.
But this was good. Part one of the
Part one,
Encyclopedia
man.
rock series.
Yeah. And I think we hit the hour mark or maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah, it
Uh,
passed us so we don't get too out there.
yeah.
We got work tomorrow and stuff like that.
And we have also before this we did our free talk on
Yeah,
the future of punk or art punk geese. That'll be coming out. And then what else is coming up for us like
I
that's
gotta
not
check.
been
I
released?
kind of forgot because I kind of lost track. I got like so much videos in the back burner, but
No, we
I
did a
think
lot. We
I think the
Roy
next one
Harper.
is I think the Roy Harper one I planned
We did
with Joe.
super groups.
That's out already.
Yeah.
It's
Roy Harper,
Roy Harper.
Punk Killed Prague. I don't know
Yeah,
what you're gonna title it, but
two free forms. This and then last time and then this.
yeah. So you got about 4 episodes that are gonna be
Doing them
coming out.
weekly, so one every Thursday. So
Yeah,
or by Thursday or by every week we'll have one episode out.
yeah. So great episode, man. A lot of fun, punk, like a lot of history and a lot of facts, and always a great Thursday night, doing our podcast and
Always, man. Always, man. And my
every
man.
man the books. The dog. You don't talk about the dog. Parties. Wood green. Parties.
Dude,
God.
no, they're jams and dog.
Honey, the sun, not even tips. It didn't even mention the crash.
Ah, screw English, Frank. It's a New York.
You didn't even mention the Clash. What a horrible episode it was.
I wish it was funny in the future. I wish we could have skits where we then we pretend we see one of these priests, or we depict one of these priests like watching our episodes. How can they not miss it? Like the damned.
Well, there is one priest who watches. Basically, he gets paid to watch the Teacher Manny show. He, he stays in his in the cubicle and he dreams about being on the show,
I
but he
know,
just
I know.
doesn't know how to approach us yet, you
I
know?
know and he sublimates his, desire to be on our show with
Yeah,
anger and like,
he goes to cognitive therapy every Tuesday and he's like, I want to be on the show. How do how do I get cool like that? How do,
oh, I hate Sulky Joe. I want to be on the show. And the therapist is like, I see. Now, what show is this? The Church of Mary show. You imagine that was a skit, dude. How funny. I wanna do this one day. Just have these funny skits.
I want to be on that show
Yeah.
so bad?
Oh, oh, take the show. They have the class. I'm gonna take it on Tuesday.
when you when you see him by the office and he's on the computer, he's
Yeah.
got he's watching the episodes. He's taking notes. He's the biggest fan.
No, no, he closes the door. Guys, I'm gonna be in a meeting, okay? All right. Oh, Jesus.
And
It's
it's
going
like
on generator. It's going on generator.
all the views that we get. It's him watching it
It's him.
over,
Oh,
over
you
and over.
know he was supporting those views that we got 100 views on one of those prog episodes.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
him.
He watched every one every
What?
single time.
What? No! You're prog episodes. No! No, that's so Joe again.
Punk! That's a punk! I'm sick of this.
Yeah,
Oh man,
man, it's so
God,
funny. You gotta love this. And our audience are like, what the F are these guys talking about? If you
we're
only knew. I know.
you only
It's
know.
funny. I wish we could do like Andrew Dice Clay skits like this, where we're just
I know
we'll
we're
hire somebody to be one of those priests and just like,
yeah, yeah. Me and Manny have our own sense of humor. There's a temple priest that really wants to be on the show as a guest, and never gonna happen. And he's got a lot of he's got to go through the therapy to get it out of his system, and
yes, yes, he's rocking back and forth. The
I'm
Cheech,
not taking the medication.
dude, he's gonna come in. This person is gonna come in angry at you.
Yeah. Oh,
You'll be
every
like, "Yo, what's up? How are you? Don't talk to me." Goes
yeah.
downstairs, locks the door. He's the bombs and the down. This is the worst episode ever. Screw Mr. Black.
Off Mr. Black. Get rid of that metal fucking table.
Yo, 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 one of your priest answers. Is Cheech up there? Yeah. Tell me, cut club line and donations and tips.
Yeah. Donations and tips. Never mind the books.
Where are the books? Who are the Sex Pistols?
The bloody Yanker.
Oh, dude.
Oh my God. Oh Jesus. Oh,
I
I have a heart
can't,
attack.
man. He's gonna be so mad. But listen, to all our viewers out there, if you're still with us, thank you so much. Do not
Yes.
worry. This is the first episode in our Punk Encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and yeah, if you're part of the Cheech and Manny Nation, you're part of the People's Podcast. Like this video,
Yes.
subscribe. We're gonna be producing more content.
And listen to Pottersfield BX,
Yeah,
Fat Chicks, and all the other hits that we have. Rock and Roll Dinosaur.
yeah.
There's a punk element in there.
Talk about
Some
a
people,
band that never minds the Bullocks.
yeah, some people should die slowly. He's also
Yo, that's my favorite song. Don't
he's
you say about me?
also a huge Pottersfield BX
Oh,
fan.
by the way, no, dude, he's such a fan that I think he plans to murder each of you guys and like have stuff you guys up and keep you in his basement.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's Chapman. He's ready. He's
Yo,
gonna
he's
pull a
ready,
Chapman
man.
on me.
Tell Bobby to be careful, man.
Yeah. So, some people should die slowly. It's about me. I'm so honored. I need the fucking time
You know, when he's in that office, this priest has little earpods on, and he's listening to Fat Chicks, and like some people should isolate.
Yeah.
Did
And he's
it.
watching the Cheech and Manny
He
show.
said, did
Uh,
it.
ever clean his hair. Tony, wait, I'm watching. I'm in a meeting.
I'm listening on podcast. I mean, doing work. Dude,
Oh,
I love it,
we,
man.
we we are not on drugs. This is
Oh
just our
no, no, this
mentality.
is pure humor, dude.
This is pure fun and our insanity of our chemistry. So, only if you knew people, but
Only if you knew.
some people know, but only the cool ones. Oh my God. This is killed Nancy. What are you talking about, you asshole?
You don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna take it on you. Cheers.
Oh my God. But on that note,
Yeah,
great show, a lot of
great
fun,
episode, man.
lot of good punk rock. In the comments, put your favorite punk rock band in,
Oh yeah.
please.
If you yeah, listen, what is your favorite punk rock band? We would love to hear it. Have a discussion. What do you think of the Sex Pistols? Did
Yeah,
Sid kill Nancy or did Nancy kill Sid? What's the story behind that? With the
yeah,
Ramones,
yeah.
what do you think about the Ramones? What do you what do you think about punk? Do you hate it? Do you love it? We'd love
Yeah.
to hear your opinions.
Do you
And
think Television is a punk band or
yeah,
just
it's
an
another
art punk
debate.
band?
Yeah.
I
Dude, if
starting to
anything,
think.
on the next episode, we'll start out maybe talking about CBGB bands. Are they punk? I think they're more art rock, but
I mean, it's interesting because I get into all the ones who made it are new wave, but there's a ton of punk bands that never made it, only
hmm
underground,
yep.
that played CBGBs. Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers was
Yeah.
huge, great band. Chinese Rocks, and then there's with Richard Hell, you know,
I heard about these guys.
lunatic, complete
Yeah.
lunatic, real punk. The Cramps, real punk stuff. So there was a lot of punk there, but they did not get to the success of the big four, the Ramones, Blondie. Television's first album was a huge success, and of course the Talking Heads. And Psycho Killer, once again, you got to bring this up because he haunts us, is about Disco Dave. David Berkowitz was also,
Good work
imagine
with.
this, imagine CBGB's in 1978, all this
Oh,
punk scene going on, and then
yeah.
David Berkowitz is murdering people in Manhattan.
And going to disco clubs.
And that's why in the movie The Son of Sam, there's a punk rock dude. And it's played by a famous actor, I can't think of his name, who's always going to CBGB's.
There we go.
So,
What a
but
scene. Anyway.
anyway, why they close CBGB's? That's another thing that pisses me off. Why couldn't I was talking to Jose. Jose said to me, "Did you go to CBGB's recently?" I'm like, "No." He said it's like a high fashion boutique, which is like the opposite of what
That sounds
this.
right. Well, my brother who lives he actually was living in the scene in Bushwick. Right now he lives near Ridgewood, but he was saying that now these people there, it's all sellouts.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all now, yeah, punk hipster fashion, but it's all like rich the kids of the rich
yeah,
living off their parents, living in the city, trying to live that punk hipster life,
yeah,
opening
yeah.
up boutiques, buying CBGBs because now you could buy the money. The owner probably was like, F it.
But it's like, okay, CBGB's was a dive bar. Okay, it, it was the value of it was worth the history is the value.
Yep.
So it was probably worth maybe $1 million in the value of what it's worth, and it was probably way less than that. But
Yeah.
because it's an historic site, $1 million, a bunch of people like Blondie or David Byrne couldn't buy it and keep it going. I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, it's kind of
that
weird,
that
right?
always pissed me off. Bruce Springsteen, he bought the bar in New Jersey.
Yeah,
What is it?
yeah.
I think he or part
Is it the something the horse or pony?
Stone Pony.
Stone Pony.
I think he owns it or he has partial ownership because he wasn't going to let that go. They were and the fact that like CBGBs went, I'm so blessed to have played there. I mean,
I
it's
might maybe I'll make a field trip and report live from the scene. I'll probably film it and like post in our episode.
yeah, and it's a high
Hey guys,
class.
we got this leather jacket going for $1,000. How punk is that?
I know it's like you know like the Ramones and everyone's rolling over in their graves. Sid Vicious is rolling over in their graves
Definitely not
saying,
punk. I mean,
you
it is
know,
what it is, right? Capitalism, whatever. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Again, my brother says there's a lot of fakes there. No New Yorkers. Like
no,
my brother
no.
hates all these posers, he calls them. But yeah,
Back then, New York was really bad in the '70s. It was
oh,
not a
it's
place
what,
like we
dude,
talked about this.
it's what sociologically is what birthed this
Yeah,
the griminess and ironically hip hop too. In a
we
few
talked
years.
about it. Yeah, Mayor
Yeah, but
Beam. He's
yeah.
the guy who was the worst mayor of New York, and it collapsed. 42nd Street, all these hookers and junkies, and the Velvet
How
Underground
crazy
was
is that,
they were
right? Yeah,
writing
and that's what
about
the Ramones were singing about. Like not
yeah, the
anarchists
Velvet
per se,
Underground.
but they were singing about what they were watching at the
Their
time.
atmosphere, their environment. That's what they were seeing, and that
Meanwhile, you got
became part of
television being all proggy and poetic and like
French
definitely
literature, French poets.
the
They're not
Marquee Moon. What the hell is a Marquee Moon, right?
genius album.
They
I
have
mean,
one called a song called Venus. That's
yeah. The Marquee Moon is one of the classic albums. Rolling Stone put
oh
it up there as like in the top five of all time.
beautiful rock album, and it
Yeah.
reminds me of Geese, what Geese are doing, but.
Geese may very well be the new television. I
And
think.
I hope they when they play at the Super Bowl, like kick off some like I would love to see that. Obviously it's not gonna happen, but
Geese should be playing the Super Bowl.
I
I mean,
agree. How punk
eh,
is that if they actually like Super Bowl does that?
yeah. I mean, you sent me something about the guy who's playing the Super Bowl.
Dude, look at me.
I I I
I
I
have no words. I
I,
mean,
I, I like his music.
no,
I
I'm
think
not gonna lie. Yeah,
I think
and
he's
don't name
talented. He's
drop him,
very good.
so no more
No,
controversy. But
yeah,
yeah, I know I like this person's music, for sure. I'm not a big fan of reggaeton, um, but yeah, it's just the controversy, what he's doing. It's like, why?
yeah. And then someone Glenn had said to me, "Well, that's what happens when you sell your soul to the devil." And no, that doesn't happen. You become Jimmy Page. You become Robert Johnson. You become
Well,
somebody cool. You
I,
know what I mean?
I'll be honest with you. They're actually it's kind of funny, but I think like people like that, the not Robert Johnson or whatever, they didn't sell their souls to the devil. They actually did, and that's actually what's happening. The others were just talent.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's pretty scary. I'm not
yeah.
even gonna watch it.
But Cheech, man, dude, this has been awesome, and
A lot
for
of fun.
all our fans out there.
Yeah.
I will do our send off messages. But guys, you are what you listen to. You
Yes, I
listen
love
to
that.
great music, listen to the greats, and then it'll shape who you
Nanu,
are.
Nanu, and never mind Bullocks. Go out there and listen to the Sex Pistols. Never mind the Bullocks. Listen
You're
to
the
the
Sex
song
Pistols.
Bodies.
Yeah.
You know,
Get some homework tonight. Listen to
yeah,
Bodies.
listen to Bodies and listen to Sid's bass line. Yes.
D.
Gotta love it.
All right,
Hey
man.
man, I'll talk to you. Great episode.
Teach,
Peace
brother.
out.
Till the next one.
Punk rock lives.
Yes, it's second show. Yo, to be continued.
Definitely. All right. Have a good night, man.